Nobody from my family came to my wedding. The next morning, my dad texted asking for money. I sent him $1. 3 weeks later, he showed up at my house with cops. I stood at the altar adjusting my cuffs and looking at 3 empty rows on my left. White, ribbons, reserved cards. My wife's family filled their side completely. Her parents, her siblings, cousins I had met twice who still showed up with gifts and warm faces. My side looked like an abandoned section of a theater nobody had bothered to take the reserved signs off of. My father's text had come that morning. Something came up. Can't make it. Have a good one. Something came up. No details, no apology, no attempt to even construct a believable story. Just something came up. The way you text someone to cancel a lunch, not to explain why you won't be at your only son's wedding. My mother didn't come. My brother didn't come. I put my phone in my jacket pocket and walked down that aisle anyway. My wife Elena's mother held my face in her hands at the end of the reception and said, "You are ours now. Do you understand? Completely ours." I made it to the hotel bathroom at midnight before I sat on the floor and stayed there for a while. I had built everything myself. My father was a man who believed in the idea of family the way some people believe. In a religion they practice selectively, loudly when it was convenient, quietly when it cost something. He talked about his children at dinner parties. He referenced my career, corporate attorney, senior associate at a firm in the city, as a point of pride in conversations with people he wanted to impress. He had never once come to see what that career actually looked like. My brother, the younger one, had been the recipient of everything our parents had to give: the college fund, the car at 16, the constant financial support that flowed from my father's account to my brother's life like water finding its natural level. My brother was not a bad person. He had simply never been asked to build anything on his own because my father was always there to make sure he didn't have to. I had been asked to build everything on my own. I had. The text came at 8:22 the next morning. Elena was still asleep. I had been awake for an hour watching the ceiling. My phone was in my hand because some part of me was still waiting for an apology. The notification showed my father's name. I opened it. "Need a favor. Your brother's venue deposit for the party is due Tuesday. $8,000. You've always been the responsible one. Wire it today. No congratulations. No acknowledgement. No sorry. Just a number and a deadline the morning after my wedding." Opened my banking app. Pulled up the transfer function. Entered my father's account number, the one I had memorized from years of sending money I never tracked and never asked back for. Set the amount. $1. Memo. Best of luck. Sent. I blocked his number. Blocked my mother. Blocked my brother. Put my phone face down on the nightstand and picked up my coffee. It was the first thing I had tasted properly in 2 days. I unblocked him 10 days later. Old reflex. The part of you that was raised to be the responsible one never fully stops asking, what if something is actually wrong this time? The messages came in a wall. 30-something of them stacked up from the days of silence. The first ones were demanding. The middle ones were accusatory. The last ones were the kind of thing you say when you stopped trying to win an argument and started trying to cause damage instead. I read them the way I read hostile depositions, without reacting, cataloging. Then I forwarded everything to my personal email, documented the dates and times, and noted that this had moved past personal and into territory that required documentation. Had been in another city for a conference for 3 days when Elena called. Her voice was the specific calm of someone managing their own adrenaline very deliberately. "Your father is at the house," she said, "with police. Come home." I looked at my boarding pass on my phone. I had landed that morning at 7:14 a.m. I had the notification, the timestamp, the airline confirmation. I had been in the air when whatever my father was claiming had allegedly happened. I drove home. There were 2 officers on my front lawn when I pulled up. My father was standing in the grass, gesturing at one of them with the particular energy of a man explaining a great injustice. He saw me step out of the car. He smirked. I had been looking at that smirk my entire life. I had finally, standing in front of my own house in a city I had built a life in entirely without his help, learned to read exactly what it meant. "I've got you now." The officer walked toward me with the careful posture of someone who had already heard one side of a story and wasn't sure what to make of it. "Sir, your father is claiming you broke into his home while he was traveling and took cash and a watch from his property. We're looking at potential theft charges." I looked at the officer. "Is your body camera on?" "Yes, sir." "Good." I held up my phone directly in front of the lens. I pulled up the boarding pass. Airline, flight number, timestamp, seat assignment. I had landed that morning. I had been in another city for 3 days. I had hotel receipts and conference registration to confirm it. Then I scrolled to the banking app. The last financial transaction between myself and my father occurred the morning after my wedding. I transferred $1 to his account from mine, with his account number, from my account with my authorization. The memo reads, "Best of luck." I held the screen in front of the camera long enough for the amount and the memo to be clearly visible. That is not theft. That is $1 I chose to send. What this is a false police report, and I will be filing a complaint this afternoon. The officer's voice when he turned to my father had a different quality than the voice he'd used with me. The specific tone of a law enforcement professional who has just understood he has been used. "Sir, the evidence doesn't support the report you filed. Filing a false report is a serious matter. My father's composure left in stages. The confidence, first. Then the certainty. Then something underneath both of them I had never seen on his face before. And I had been looking at his face for 38 years. After everything I gave him. Everything I sacrificed. I use the voice I use in courtrooms when I need a room to understand that what's about to be said is the last thing that's going to be said on this topic. Get off my property. The officers walked him to his car. He turned. Back once, hand on the door. The expression of a man who has lost something he was certain he would win. You think that firm makes you better than me? I stood on my porch. No. It just means I built it. He got in the car and drove away. I went inside. Elena made coffee. We sat at the kitchen table and neither of us spoke for a few minutes. She understands the value of silence that isn't empty. Then I opened my laptop and started drafting the restraining order petition myself. I am a corporate attorney. Restraining orders are not my specialty, but the documentation I had been keeping since the first wall of messages arrived was thorough, enough to make the petition straightforward. It was granted 2 weeks later. 500 feet. 2 years. My residence and my place of work. I found out through a cousin that my brother's party had been canceled. The venue deposit had never been paid. The $8,000 my father had asked me for the morning after my wedding had never materialized from any source. My brother's girlfriend had decided she wasn't ready to plan a celebration with a family currently involved in a harassment matter and a restraining order. Elena and I spent the following weekend at home, ordered dinner on Saturday night and ate it on the back porch watching the sky do what it does in the evening, turn colors you don't quite have names for. Somewhere my father was telling his version of events to whoever would listen. I didn't know what that version was. I didn't need to. I had the boarding pass. I had the banking app. I had the restraining order. And I had this, a quiet yard, a wife who showed up, an evening going colors I couldn't name. My father used to say that what made a person was family. He wasn't entirely wrong about that. He just had the wrong idea about what family means.